Hey, I'm Lauren.
And I'm Matt.
And this is Publish and Prosper,
where publishing, technology, and marketing collide.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Publish and Prosper. And today we are going to be breaking out of the jungle, escaping from the jungle, running far, far away from the Amazon.
Okay. I was like, jungle. First of all, we talked about jail, like being in Amazon jail. And then you said jungle, and I was like, what is she talking about?
I know, but that just wasn't as punny, honestly.
You are uncontrollable. You know that?
I gotta find my moments of joy where I can.
Okay.
I got at least one compliment on the breaking news intro from that episode the other day.
Your sister doesn't count.
Wasn't my sister.
Your
It
mom
wasn't
doesn't
anybody
count.
Related to me.
Oh, all right. I'm still going to challenge it.
That's fair.
Just like a bad Uno card, I'm going to challenge it.
Reverse Uno.
I'm going to reverse it, yes.
Okay. That's fair.
Make you draw 4.
That's fine. That feels about right anyway. Today, we are going to be talking about how you can rebuild, whether you are forced off of Amazon or temporarily frozen out of Amazon, or you're just thinking about maybe your long-term strategy plans for, I got to get out of here. I don't want to be here anymore, but I know there's a lot that goes into that. So we're going to be talking through some of that today.
This is starting to feel more like an intervention than a podcast. The way that you phrase this.
The way I'm looking at you, or the way
the way that you phrase this. For anybody who's listening that's using Amazon, it sounds like you're setting them up for an intervention at this point.
I mean, honestly, it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it is. This episode idea actually came to us from a listener and an author who had this happen to her. She had
one of the tens of thousands.
Yes.
But shout out to Sarah for emailing us.
Yes. Thank you so much for the email and for the suggestion, because I think it's something that happens to a lot of authors, whether it's a temporary or a permanent ban, and whether it's Amazon or so many of the other platforms. I literally last week heard about one of our friends lost complete access to their entire Facebook ecosystem, like their profile, their page, like everything that was connected to their like Facebook. And they had, I think, like several tens of thousands of followers, if not close to 100,000 followers.
They didn't. Facebook did.
Right. And just the entire thing got wiped by Facebook with no recourse, no way to get it back, no way to fight back on that. And it's just gone overnight.
Yeah.
And so whether we're talking about the situation that Sarah presented to us with her books, she was 6 books deep into Amazon and Kindle Unlimited and KDP and lost it all, or some other platform that this is happening, or you're just trying to take some preventative measures to avoid this happening.
And for anybody listening right now that's probably thinking like, oh, well, that person probably violated terms of service or had shady content. Like, no, this happens to people with legitimate, like the most wholesome of content, like cozy Amish romance. And all it takes is either one fake AI generated complaint that you are fraudulent and that's not your content, it's somebody else's, or any number of other things, and they will freeze your account. And when your account is frozen for the investigation, it is frozen. Like, you don't have access to anything. If you have any monies owed to you, that is frozen. If they choose not to reopen your account, you lose all of that. Like, you don't even get the money that you're owed. So this happens to people all the time for reasons that are nothing to do with something they did. AI is oftentimes the culprit on the Amazon end. They use it to check for things like IP infringement, copyright infringement, questionable content, and the AI gets it wrong. So it happens to a lot of people who have good content, has no business being frozen or flagged. But there are other bad actors out there that are oftentimes at the wheelhouse of this. So if you're thinking, oh, well, this will never happen to me, or, oh, those people probably deserved it, wrong.
I've seen several people talk about this in different indie author communities like Wide for the Win, which is a great one to check out, by the way, if you're going through the process of either intentionally or unexpectedly leaving Amazon. But I've seen several posts where authors have talked about like they had AI clones of their books on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
And they reported the author themselves reported it.
Yep.
And Amazon will just unilaterally freeze all accounts associated, including the author that was the one that initially reported it.
Yeah, and you'll have to prove it's yours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about that in the episode.
Which is not always easy, by the way.
Right. We talked about that in the episode we did on copyright.
That's right.
And why it's important to copyright your books. And this is one of those reasons. Again, whether you are somebody who is intentionally thinking about leaving Amazon, or you've been forced out, or maybe you just got scared. Like maybe something happened, you had an account freeze and you've moved past it now, but that shocked your system enough that you were like, okay, what can I do to put some safeguards in place so that if that ever happens again, I'm prepared.
Yeah.
This is for you. A couple of the things that Sarah had mentioned in the email that she sent were some of the big pain points and kind of like really jarring realizations that she had when this happened. Mm-hmm. And I think the three really big ones were, I mean, first of all, hello, my primary distribution account just got, some way or another frozen, disappeared, gone, suspended, whatever. Your audience primarily, especially if you are somebody who's using Kindle Unlimited for a lot of fiction authors, if you are relying very heavily on the built-in audience and discoverability on Kindle Unlimited, that might be a big like fear and pain point for you is oh my God, my whole audience was there. And then the promotional efforts that go hand in hand with Amazon, whether that's the built-in promo efforts or your third-party promo that might be tied to your Amazon book listings. So we'll talk through some of those.
Yeah, that's a lot. Like, when you think about how much stuff you could actually have tied to your Amazon efforts, that's a lot. Hopefully nobody's in that boat, but we know that's not true.
Yeah, we know that the unfortunate reality of this is that a lot of people are in that boat, and a lot of people don't learn that to get out of that sinking ship until it's already halfway sunk. Yeah,
and before also anybody else out there starts thinking, oh, this is just another chance for Matt to drag Amazon through the mud. Yes, it is, but you could also replace Amazon with anything else in this situation. So you could replace Amazon with the word TikTok or Facebook or anything else that you don't own that audience or that channel. It's still a single point of failure for your business. If you run everything through one place and you've tied all your ad spend to it, you've tied your audience discoverability to it, all of your short form or long form marketing content is tied to it, your actual books are tied to it, your sole source of revenue is from this channel, like you're just asking for it. Like that's literally like building a stilt house right in the proven path of a tornado. Yep. You just so single source of failure, single point of failure, like that's not a good thing. So it's not just me taking the opportunity to drag Amazon through the mud, which I'll gladly do at any point in time, and we'll debate that with anybody on the planet at any point in time. But you could actually apply this to, like you said, your friend with the Facebook or anything else. We talk about this all the time, but there's very real implications here. And this email from Sarah just reminded us that, we hadn't really talked about this in a while. And it's really important for people to understand that it's not a matter of if this happens. It's for most of you, it's probably a matter of when this happens on a certain channel. So these are some things that you can do to bounce back, to rebuild, to recover. And hopefully, if this hasn't happened to you, there's some things you can do in here that we're going to talk about that could potentially prevent this from happening to you.
Yeah, and I also want to be clear that when we say prevent or like preventative measures or whatever, I'm not talking about it in the sense of like, if you do this, Amazon won't ever ban your account. That's not.
If you get off Amazon, they can never ban your account.
There is that. But no, what we're talking about when we're talking about like preventative steps that you can take here is something like, hey, if and when something like this happens to you, if you already have your books listed on at least one other retail site, hopefully you won't see a disruption in your sales because this one account is gone.
Well, you will see disruption. Hopefully this just sort of minimizes the amount of disruption.
Yeah, it's preventative.
If you're on another channel, hopefully that helps minimize it. If, again, like we talked about, that's your sole channel and this happens, you have nothing as a backup to minimize that damage. So you have to move very quickly to try and get things back on track. And when they freeze your account, like I said, you don't really have access to anything. You're kind of at the mercy of their investigation until they decide they're done with it. And if it comes back that they see what you've done, quote unquote, as wrong, that's it.
Yeah.
There is some sort of an appeals process, I believe, but it's not any easier than the initial process. So yeah, at least if you have some things spread out, if you've gone wide, or some sort of backup plan, at least you have a way to minimize the pain. But if you're one of those that this is your single source, like, and this happens, you got to move quick. And here's some things that you can do to try and get back on track fast.
Yeah. We are also not going to talk about specifically things that you like steps you need to take on Amazon in terms of like, this is how you appeal or this is how you try to regain access to your account. That's not what we're going to be talking about here.
Well, and quite frankly, that's not very clear.
Right.
Like Amazon purposely makes it very unclear on how to do those things. And you're basically stuck communicating via email with them. And that's pretty much it.
And you may or may not even be speaking to a person.
Oh, you're definitely not.
Yeah. Yes. And I also don't want to, I don't want to scare people up front. This is a very real fear. And this is a very realistic worst case scenario. But I don't want you to think of this as like, this is the ultimate kiss of death. This is the death knell for my author brand. Everything is done. Like, it's not. This is something that happens to a lot of people. Yep. A lot of people bounce back from it. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying that like, oh, this is a blessing in disguise, whatever. I'm not trying to minimize the pain of what it would be like to have this happen to your account. But all hope is not lost. So if you are here listening to this, don't let it keep you up at night.
Agreed. All right. So you get the infamous email. Yep. Your account's been frozen. There's been some sort of violation. You can't log in because it's been frozen, but you'll try to anyways because everybody does. So you're forced to respond to that email and you'll wait because it's a bot at the other end and you'll go into the queue with all the rest of the people trying to figure out what's going on. What do you do?
First thing you do is save anything that you have access to. Even if you can't log into your account, if you can find your book listings, if you have a Kindle that's on airplane mode and your books are downloaded on that Kindle, take a screenshot so you can see all the metadata, like, literally whatever you can. Just immediately do whatever you can to secure things like if your book is tied to Goodreads, because Goodreads is owned by Amazon. Right. If your account has been frozen, if you get that email immediately, maybe you can still get on Goodreads and pull all your metadata and your reviews from Goodreads.
There's a good chance it's still cached in your laptop or whatever. Yes. So yeah, that's a great point. If you are on Goodreads or whatever, go there immediately and see if you can grab screenshots and stuff like that. Because once that stuff's frozen, you don't have access to it. And if you didn't save any of that previously when you loaded your books in the Kindle, if you didn't save the blurb that you used for your book description somewhere else, if you didn't save, the bisect categories that you chose and the Amazon categories that you chose, like, you're starting all over again. So, and you're not going to find that anywhere. I don't care where you go. No. So, pro tip, write all that stuff down or keep it in a Word doc or whatever?
Absolutely. First recommendation for preventative measures or for minimizing the catastrophic damage here is make sure that you have backup records of all that kind of data, your sales data, whatever you have access to, your BISAC codes, your book metadata, the things that you used for your copy and stuff like that. Get in the habit of periodically downloading updated versions of anything.
Yeah.
So that you just have it, once a month, once every other month. It doesn't have to be a daily thing, but have backups. That's really important because you never know. I would say that for anything. It's the same reason that for our podcast episodes, I record our weekly data in a Google Sheet.
Right.
That data is all still accessible in every single one of the accounts that we have our podcast loaded to. But just in case one of them shut down, I still have all our historic data in a sheet somewhere.
Just in case we got banned because of your shenanigans.
Yes.
We'd still have all our data.
It's not my shenanigans I'm worried about, honestly.
You should be. I'm worried about shenanigans.
In terms of getting us banned?
Just in general.
Okay.
Okay.
You should be.
Yeah. So immediate response, don't freak out, but you're going to freak out.
Yes.
Just try to find anything you can that you don't already have that you might need in order to start rebuilding with that title or those titles. So again, if you don't have your metadata saved somewhere, your book description, your BISAC categories, all those other things, go somewhere and try to find them real quick before those get frozen as well. But hopefully everybody listening has that stuff stored somewhere, has been a responsible adult, has backup saved, and everything's good.
Yep.
So the next thing you want to do is start planning out how you're going to rebuild.
Yes. And the first thing that I would do there is try to get your books back out onto the market as quickly as possible, if they're not already. If you are not already...
Well, let's move forward as if this was their single source.
Okay, great.
So single source was Amazon. Yes. It's in a freeze right now because Amazon thinks you, I don't know, plagiarized or stole or whatever.
Yep. Which in that case, and we're talking freeze, not permanent ban yet. We're not sure if it's an immediate...
That's the thing. You don't know until they decide.
Right.
That's
so I would say start taking action before they decide.
Oh yeah, 100%.
As soon as you're even like temporarily suspended, start taking action immediately. Yeah. And the first thing that I would do is get your books listed on another retail channel so that you are not seeing a complete disruption in your sales. And this will be relevant for some of the other things we're going to talk about a little bit further on in the episode too. So, whatever it takes, it doesn't have to be all at once. If your response to this is somehow like, oh man, I knew I should have been selling direct and I am going to start selling direct. I'm in the process of doing that. This just happened before I was ready to do that. Do not wait until you are ready to start selling direct. Get your books up on a third-party retailer and then continue on with like whatever your original plans were long-term with that. But I think it's a really just, get them back out there. And I would recommend doing it in a way that minimizes the amount of delay.
Maximalizes,
and minimalizes.
Are you distro maxing?
Ugh. Oh, I hate it here. Gross.
So what are some examples of other third-party retail channels?
Well, might I recommend a little website called Lulu.com?
You may.
Because you can publish your books to the Lulu bookstore immediately.
Yes.
If you are like, okay, I'm going to, I'm going to take this opportunity to distribute through Ingram and go into third-party retail distribution, there's a delay there. There is an approval process. It might take weeks, possibly months for you to get through that. But if there is a way for you to get your books up next day, same day.
Yeah. So I don't think it's that long for Ingram. Like if you were like, listen, I just need to get these books up there to sell. Like, yes, you can run them through Lulu for sure. We have a very quick approval process. We use software and tools that help us do that quickly, and not that weird janky AI that Amazon uses. Ingram and Ingram Spark, I don't think they're months out, or even in many cases, I don't even think full weeks out. Either way, those are probably your two fastest paths back to a retail market. I can't think of anything else offhand. I mean, if we're talking ebooks strictly, yeah, there's no shortage. I mean, you could go to a bunch of other places. You could go to Kobo. You could go to, wherever, Apple if you wanted to. But if you're talking ebook and print or just print, it's Ingram or Lulu or both.
Yeah. Any time that you're making an effort to go wide with your book sales, whether it was an intentional, thought out, long-term strategy, or this happened because you are in a panic response to an account being suspended or closed or hijacked or whatever, this is something that takes time. This is something that you cannot do overnight, not if you're going to do it right. And you want to do it right because you don't want to find yourself in this position again.
Yeah, I've talked to people that have had their account frozen. It was frozen for a couple of days. They were freaking out. They were trying to figure out what to do. They had a game plan of how to go wide and do all these other things. Then Amazon sends them the email and says, nope, sorry, this was a mistake. You're all good. They just go right back to what they're doing. And then literally months later, it happens again. Like it's not like this isn't an isolated thing. Like, and it seems like one of those things like lightning strikes, like people who actually get hit by lightning, they actually get hit by lightning again.
Yeah.
Like they're more of a magnet for it. Like the people I do know who have been targeted by Amazon for, an unwarranted account freeze or ban or whatever, like most of the ones that I know that this happened to, it's happened to them again. And so, yeah, not taking the appropriate action afterwards and then falling victim to it again is like going on Survivor 48, getting voted out with an idol in your pocket, coming on to Survivor 50, getting voted out again with an idol in your pocket.
Is it also like getting voted out with an idol in your pocket after you already had that happened to you once, and then you also had a dream? You had a nightmare about getting voted out with an idol in your pocket,
well,
and then you still did it.
It was referred to as a dream, but that is a nightmare, yes. Ozzy, please, come on, my guy. You got to get it together.
You know what? I did really appreciate him in the final tribal council, though.
Yeah, so listen, if you're unfortunate enough for this to happen to you once, don't let it happen again.
No.
Yeah, take some of these preventative measures, but back to what you were talking about, this is long-term. There are things that you need to do. It's unfortunate if you're in this situation and this was the catalyst or the spark that gets you to take action and start going wide or finding new places to sell your content or build that direct connection that you've been wanting to do for the last couple of years and it's the right thing to do, but I think the important thing here is that you get started, like get the ball rolling, get moving, get started on these things. We just told you the immediate thing you can do is get your content into Ingram and Lulu or whatever, the fastest marketplaces you can get it into so you can try to keep generating some revenue. But in the meantime, you need to start, I think, taking some of the long-term steps to really secure your author brand and business.
Yes. And we have created several different pieces of content that are specifically about how to lay out that long-term strategy for going wide. We've done podcast episodes on it. We've got at least one or two blog posts on it and at least one or two Lulu, like shorter form videos on it. I will make sure those are all linked in the show notes. So if that's something that you're doing either preventatively, proactively, or reactively, go check out that for specific advice on how to do that and strategies for how to do that. But long-term, just, keep in mind that this is something that's going to take long-term effort. It's not something that you're going to recover from overnight. But some of the things that we've already talked about and some of the things we're going to talk about in here are things that you can do immediately to kind of staunch the bleeding slightly. Is that the phrase?
I don't think so.
No. What's the...
You want to stem the flow of bleeding.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. You're tying a tourniquet around the bullet wound.
There you go.
You're also supposed to not do it above the injury, not directly on top of it.
That's right.
Stem the blood flow. Yeah.
Yep. Sure. Above it.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Great advice on this podcast. So, there's some things that are just quick fixes and then the long-term strategy that goes with it. One of the things that you should do, whether it's as a part of this long-term recovery or as a preventative measure, is try to own as many of your assets as possible. I know sometimes it's really appealing to use like publisher provided ISBNs, for example, or Amazon has, is it ASIN?
ASINs, yeah.
Yeah. I understand why they're free. I understand why you would want to use them, especially in the Amazon ecosystem. You have to, because of course they're specific with that, and they're specific with ebook format files and stuff like that. But that's another thing that you're going to have to replace if you lose access to those. Whereas if you are using your own ISBNs, you keep those. Even if you lose access to your book or to your author account, those are still your ISBNs because they're separate from Amazon. So whatever you can do that you are using your own assets instead of proprietary assets that belong to whatever channel we're talking about here, do that. Do that moving forward for sure.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity also, though, to reach out to your audience, whatever audience you've built so far directly, whether that's through, an email newsletter list that you're working on building, or, again, go out on your social media channels. And this is a great reminder to try and get everybody there to come over and sign up for your email list. Or, you've got to somehow start building a channel that you own, that nobody can take that away from you. But, everybody loves a good Amazon sympathy story. So after, immediately not panicking, but then getting my content onto a few channels so I could try and make some money there, the next thing I would probably do is craft a nice email to my user base and my reader base, and kind of lay things out and let them know that I'm going to be building a direct experience in the very near future, and that I would absolutely love their support so that I never found myself in this situation again.
What a great segue to the next section of this outline.
Thank you.
Yes, that is absolutely. So the next thing that is kind of a key problem that people have when this happens, or a key reason that people are like, I don't want to leave Amazon if I don't have to, is having that audience and that reader base that exists on there that is not, or maybe you don't think of them as your owned audience because they are Kindle Unlimited readers that just happen to be reading your content on there.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're not your audience.
They're not, but they can be. And you might be surprised by how much this could potentially be the impetus that gets them to be your audience and not just reading your content on a third-party platform.
Well, you will be surprised at how many people actually come over when you ask them to come over. Yes. Because prior to that, you have no idea. You don't know who your audience is, who's been buying your books. If you don't have a dedicated email list, if you don't have a direct sales channel, a Shopify store, something like that, where you're selling directly and capturing that data, you have no idea. So until you go and ask, your social media followers or your KU readers or whatever that is to come over and sign up for your email list or to buy directly from you, and you start to accumulate that data, you have no idea. So you very well will be surprised if you go to Facebook or TikTok or, whatever, Goodreads or wherever you can get into and talk to people who may or may not have read your books and say, listen, I'd love for you to come support me directly over here, my newsletter, whatever. You might actually be very surprised at how many people have read your books and enjoy them and will come over and support you directly.
Yeah. Now that we're talking about audience and the fear or loss of audience on KDP, on Kindle Unlimited, whatever, I think that's one of those first reaction things you should do is tell your audience in every way that you can. This is one of those opportunities where you do want to maximize your reach as much as possible. Go on all of your social channels, send an email out even if you have an email that you've literally never actually sent an email before. You've been building an email newsletter list, but you haven't gotten around to actually sending one yet. I don't care if you have to BCC 100 people on a Gmail. This is when you want to tell everybody, and, cautiously and conscientiously be solution focused and not incendiary. Yes.
I just want to back up for a minute. Why would you BCC 100 people in your Gmail account?
Because you have to get word out. I'm not saying...
Well, why wouldn't you just use your email list?
Maybe you haven't set it up yet. Maybe this is panic mode.
I see.
Maybe you're reaching out to not readers, but you've got a nebulous list of other authors and creators and influencers and people that you've worked with before.
Yeah.
That isn't a formal newsletter list, but you're just trying to get the word out.
It's basically your contact list.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, your network, your whatever. This is where you want to say to people, hey, FYI, my account has been suspended on Amazon. I am working through recovery right now, but I just wanted to let you know, I'm not gone. If you're looking for me and you can't find me. Don't say that.
That's boring.
Okay.
So this is actually a very underutilized, you're going in the right direction. This is a very underutilized way to give your email list a jumpstart. And a lot of people don't do this. But if I was going to be setting up an email list, I'd go get an account somewhere like Kit where you can start building for free. You don't have to start paying until you get 1,000 contacts or 5,000 contacts or something like that. So go open up a free account at Kit or one of these other email programs, but then go back into your Gmail and literally shoot an email to everybody on BCC. So not everybody's there, but leave it a little more ominous and just be like, hey, just want to let everybody know I had something happened to me recently that really kind of threw my business for a loop, and I want to tell you all about it. So please sign up for my new newsletter, and I'm going to share the whole thing with you, the whole sorted deal. Now everybody's like, oh crap, what happened to Lauren? Oh, she's got to see. I'm going to go sign up on our email because I need to know I need to know the tea. So they're going to go sign up for your list. Boom, you got immediate opt-in.
Yep.
So there's going to be some friends and family on there, but who cares? Then your very first newsletter is, you getting thrown in Amazon jail and how you're going to work your way out of it by building a direct connection to your readers as well as going wide with your other distribution choices.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you were in the right direction. You're just getting a little boring with it.
That's okay. You
got to create some suspense.
Create some suspense. That's fair. I was
like the suspense of when we're actually going to see a Disney Epcot passport from you.
Is now a good time to tell you that I need time off because I have another trip booked?
Yeah, you can have eternity off.
Great. Looking forward to it. I'm going to run out of money real fast, but what a way to go.
Yeah, please comment on this episode if you'd like to be my new co-host.
The position's wide open for the taking.
Leave a link to your LinkedIn or your...
No, don't bother. You can just, you can have it. First person to claim it can have it.
Oh, I don't want to be sitting here next to somebody I don't like.
I will take that as a compliment.
I was going to say I've been doing that for the last 2 years. I don't want to do it again.
Well, then you've had plenty of practice and it shouldn't matter who's sitting in this chair.
So
great.
Email your contacts.
Email your contacts, but also I would post on social because that would be if I was somebody who followed an author, I am somebody who follows multiple authors on Kindle Unlimited. And if all of a sudden I went and one of those authors was suddenly gone and their books were suddenly gone, I would go check for their social media accounts and see if it said anywhere what happened to them.
But you might not recognize they're gone right away. So, as an author, being proactive and just, like you said, I think going out there and talking about it and trying to get people to come over and sign up on your email list.
So you're absolutely gonna want to have some kind of immediate CTA in whether it's in an email or on social or wherever where you're saying, hey, sign up for my newsletter so I can keep you in the loop about what's happening here, or follow me on Instagram so that I can so that you can know what's going on and where I'll be next, and as this story unfolds you can follow along or whatever. But you're definitely this is not something that you need to stay in the dark about. This is absolutely something that it is okay to go out in public and talk about it. And in fact, I would not just okay, but I would go talk about it. Because your readers are going to be looking for you. But because it is something that people are going to notice over time and not immediately, where I was getting boring was that I would caution you to not be like super reactive with this, because if you come out swinging and are like, oh my God, I'm going to burn Amazon to the ground because of XYZ that they did to me, like that might not be a good look on you a month later, you know? And I'm sure your fans will be outraged on your behalf. So you stay solution focused and let your fans be the one to be like, oh my God, did you hear they banned so-and-so author for absolutely no reason? Can you believe it? Like what, like who does that? Like I'm canceling my Amazon subscription.
I don't think anybody would be surprised, but also sadly, nobody's canceling their Amazon subscription. That's the problem. Okay. So you absolutely want to go out and secure any of your existing audience that you can.
Yes.
Whether it's on your social media channels or through your personal email contacts or anything else that you can get your hands on, any other way that you may have been collecting reader information if possible. And yes, try to be graceful when you speak about it, but it's absolutely okay to speak about it. Just, the goal is to move forward and start anew, but do it with a way that's more intentional and so that you have more ownership over all this stuff. Yeah. Right. All right. So the next thing you want to do is try to get new readers. That you're going to go back to the thing that you do anyways as an author, which is trying to gain new audience.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, which I know is a thing that terrifies a lot of people when it comes to this situation. I think this is probably the number one issue that a lot of authors have, is that fear of Amazon is where readers find books like mine and authors like me. And if I'm not on Amazon, no one's going to find my books and read my books. And realistically, that's not true. It's just not.
Agree.
I mean, we've spent 120 something episodes at this point talking about how that's not true. So yes, absolutely. There are some readers that rely very heavily on the algorithms and discoverability and ease and accessibility of Kindle Unlimited. But that's not the entire reader base out there.
No, and in fact, I would say it's actually a small reader base.
It's smaller than you think it is.
The only people that are frequenting KU and finding new authors that way, I would argue, are mostly fiction and mostly romantasy.
Yes.
And,
or romance in general, and then different subgenres within romance.
Yeah, sorry, romance in general. Yeah. But outside of that, like if your books, everything on your Amazon account was nonfiction, they were business books, or it was fiction, but it wasn't romance based. It was, whatever, horror or something like that. Like KU is probably not anywhere near a significant part of your book sales or your audience discoverability efforts at all. So again, not being on there is not the end of the world for most people. If you are one of the ones who writes and turns out romance ebooks pretty frequently through KU, then this could be a big part of what you have been currently relying on in terms of revenue and discoverability. But for everybody else, it's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah. And I also think that even that is on the decline. That is, I actively have noticed that it's getting worse and worse on KU when I'm looking for new books to read. And I'm like, it's just recommending the same books to me over and over and over again. Like I'm just getting the same recommendations, the same authors, it's not updating the genre. It's not giving me new recommendations. I've ignored these for like a year and a half and it's still not giving me new ones. Or I can tell these ones are paid because there's absolutely no reason that this should be making it into my algorithm. This is so far out of the realm of my interests. So clearly this was a paid promo. And so I think that discoverability, even in the genres that it is still the most effective in, is still getting progressively less effective, especially if you're not interested in pay to play discoverability.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is why we've done so many episodes on discoverability. We've done a bunch of different ones recently. I will link some of them in the show notes too, but literally in the last 15 episodes, we've done at least 3 that I think could kind of help people with their book discoverability efforts in a way that has nothing to do with using Amazon.
Yeah.
So if that's a fear or hesitation of yours, I promise you there are other solutions out there. We've got resources to help you, and there are plenty of other resources out there too.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an outdated notion that Amazon is this discoverability engine. It definitely was back in the day, but there's a lot of data now that supports the fact that it's just not anymore. But what you can do and what you should be doing under the bucket of preventative measures is making sure that you are taking good care of the contacts you do have in your email list. If you don't have an email list yet, again, go start one. There are several providers that will let you have a free account until you get up to a certain number of contacts in there. Kit is one of them. I know there's a few others. MailChimp, Beehive. Yep. There's no shortage of them, and they're all basically the same for your purposes until you really start getting up into the tens of thousands of contacts. So just go pick one, and start.
Yeah.
And again, the easiest place to start is in your personal email. And then outside, like Lauren said, go to your social media channels and start trying to get people to, come over and sign up for your email list. Even if you only end up with 25 in the first week you're doing this, that's 25 dedicated people. That could be 25 book sales right out of the gate the next time you launch a book or whatever you're doing. I mean, that can't be underestimated. 25 people buying your book directly from you, by the way, is at least a 5x profit increase than 25 people buying your book off Amazon.
Yeah.
So there's also the math.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
this is also, if you're somebody who has been hesitant in the past to ask people, you don't know how to ask people to sign up for your newsletter, you don't know how to incentivize people to do it, this is a great reason. Or maybe if you're looking for ways to incentivize KU readers that are, you're afraid that they're not going to want to buy your books from you because they're used to getting them for free with their subscription. Maybe you say, hey, sign up for my newsletter and let me know which of my ebooks was the one that you read over and over again on KU, and I will send you a free ebook download of that, or I will send you bonus content from that, or something to incentivize, like, this is a reason for you to come to me instead of KU. Yeah. You have something on here that I thought is really, really smart, which is, something that can really help out in a situation like this is, in your personal life, if you have something happen that's considered tragic or traumatic, the first thing you do is you turn to friends or family, your network. You should be able to do the same thing as an author. And so, preventative measures around this would be, this would look like, building a network of other authors and peers, influencers and creators that work within your niche or your genre or whatever it is you're doing. That's not the part, but the part I like that you put in here was working out a disaster strategy with them. So, in your little group of peers or authors or creators, friends, this could happen to any one of you, and it probably has or will. Having like a group disaster plan or strategy for like, when this happens to one of us, here's how we'll all jump in and help. We'll amplify the fact that you're setting up your own email list. And then, we'll tell our audiences, like, having some sort of plan for the group when this happens to one of you as an individual. That's a really cool idea. I like that. Yeah, I thought that would be a really kind of interesting experiment, even if for no other reason than going through the practice of doing that might make you say, oh, why am I waiting for this disaster to happen? Why can't I just start doing some of these things now? I should be doing some of these things now, which you should be. Obviously, it's what we're saying over and over again here. But if you have a backup in place where you can sit there and say, okay, my account just got banned on Amazon, but these 6 authors that I'm friends with are all just waiting for me to send them like the next step. And they're going to send that out to their whole email list and say, hey, our friend so-and-so had their account banned, but you can still find them on their website here, or you can still find them on Instagram here, or you can still buy their books here, and maybe go show them some love
Yeah.
You know, like we did an episode recently on how to get your readers to sell your books for you. And this is another one of those like rallying calls to action from a fan base that absolutely, if an author that I loved sent out an email and was like, hey, an author that I love just had this thing happen to them, go show them support, I probably would. I don't know if I'd buy their book, but I would at least like go amplify their social posts or maybe subscribe to their newsletter and check their books out and see it. Like, you know, I would do something to show some support for that author in this situation. Yeah. So I think don't underestimate the power of your network and your network's network.
Beyond audience, you probably had money tied to Amazon in other ways. You were probably doing some promo, either directly with Amazon or through third party, you know, maybe written word media stuff or, you know, whatever, BookBub or I don't know, one of the 20 different services that exists out there that you can tie into your Amazon stuff. So you obviously need to take account and assess, take an audit, if you will, Lauren's favorite word.
I left it out of the outline, but I was wondering if I was going to get you to say it.
It's forever ingrained in my memory, so yeah. But I appreciate you not putting it in front of me.
Yeah, that was just for you. But yes, this is a good opportunity for you to do an audit of all of your existing promotional efforts or your standard default promotional efforts, and I would say sort them into 3 different categories. Say these are all my ones that are built in on Amazon. Mm-hmm. These are all my ones that are third-party promo, but are connected to Amazon in some way. So like the written word media, BookBub promos, and then some independent promo that you are running, whether that's independent because you're doing like earned and paid promo, like newsletters or anything, or something like social media campaigns. That's technically you're not using a third-party service to run those for you. So you're managing those on your own. But you're going to want to kind of take an accounting of all 3 of those because you're going to have to make changes to all 3 of them.
Well, one of them's dead at this point.
One of them is completely defunct.
Yep.
But the reason that I would say to include that in your accounting is literally for accounting. Because if you know that you were spending X amount of money every month on running these promo ads, reallocate that budget to wherever would be the most helpful for you in this moment. So, you know, make sure you know what's dead in the water on Amazon so that you can turn that around somewhere else. And also, I mean, even if your account is just suspended, like, do you really want to keep giving Amazon money after they've scared the shit out of you like this?
No, you definitely don't.
Yeah.
But so you also have to be aware of, you know, some of those third-party ones require you to link to an Amazon book product page, however you want to phrase it. And you're going to need to know which ones those are because those are clearly defunct now too and not working.
Yep.
And again, you'll want to take those funds and reallocate them back to, you know, a third-party service that will allow you to link to wherever you're selling your book, not just Amazon.
Yes. And if you're looking for preventative measures here, that is something to think about in the future before you sign up for some of these big third-party promotional sites.
Yeah.
Is an Amazon account a requirement for these? And if it is that really worth investing in? Especially if you think maybe there's a chance one day you're not going to be on Amazon by choice or not. But then also, you know, those not third party ones, the independent ones that are not necessarily beholden to any of these, like the existence of your Amazon account or whatever, you definitely want to make sure that you're going through there, because if, for example, you're running a evergreen Facebook campaign that's just promoting your books in general, if all the links that you have tied to those ads are linking to your Amazon author page, you're going to want to make sure you update those ASAP.
Yep.
Which is why I said one of the first things that you want to do is get your books back out into the market immediately, because then you can just relink those.
Yeah, you got to have the links though. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly. And of course, in that scenario, preventative measures, maybe don't run campaigns that link to your Amazon account. Maybe this is a really good reason that you should be selling direct, and that you should link your campaigns to an owned channel and not rented land. We've talked about that a million times before, but this is another example of a scenario in which that could wind up burning you more than you realize.
Or at the very least, again, have multiple channels where, if one of them does get frozen or shut down or hacked, you can go and switch the links out at these, independent and third-party promo spots to just another one of the links to the sales channels that you currently occupy or utilize. So, if you're not selling direct or you're not ready for that yet still, then at least have multiple sales channels with multiple links that you can use.
Which is why I think, as an overarching kind of preventative measure here, I would always have an author website set up. Like, you want to own that domain name, even if it is the most basic, bare bones, black and white on there's the page has like more hopes and dreams than any real value. At least it exists. And even if you are not yet set up to sell direct, but that is something that you're, maybe down the road, maybe not, whatever, it's a great place to aggregate your buy links.
Yeah.
Even though we ultimately would not recommend that you drive traffic to your own website just to then turn around and send that traffic away again. At least that is, if you're doing paid ad promo and you're linking people to the buy page on your website where people have the opportunity to find all of your buy links together on one place, at least you don't have to replace that.
Yeah.
If one of those buy links goes away.
It's a good point.
Yeah. But also, author website. Now is the time. Author website and email newsletter list. If you are not already doing those two things, right now is the time to start. Let's go. Whether it's because this horrible situation has happened to you or because you want to make sure that you have a plan in place if and when it ever does. Stop listening to this episode and go secure a web domain.
Well, they could do that while they're listening.
You could do that while you're listening.
I've literally bought domains while we were recording a podcast before.
I believe that. I have no doubt in my mind about that.
All right. The number one takeaway here is never create a single point of failure for yourself.
Correct.
So never have all your eggs in one basket. Never put all your money on one horse. However you want to look at this, don't do it. Right?
If insert name of platform collapsed tomorrow, if you woke up tomorrow and this platform was gone, would your entire brand disappear with it? And if the answer to that is yes, it's time to do a very, very serious reevaluation and strategy planning immediately, because that's not sustainable. And if that doesn't scare you, I don't know what will.
Well, probably some good old-fashioned Stephen King or something like that. First time I ever saw it, I was thoroughly terrified.
You know what's really funny is it actually made an appearance in the other episode that I was outlining today. So it's funny that you brought that up out of all possible examples here.
It's one of my favorites.
It's one of my favorites too. It was the first Stephen King book I ever read.
Oh, mine was The Shining.
I'm terrified of clowns, and then I got tricked into seeing the movie. I mean, I knew what it was. I went into it, but I got bullied into going to see it, and I loved it despite the clown. And so then I read the book, and it was worth it.
Very good. All right, if you made it this far, thanks.
Yeah.
If this has happened to you, our condolences, but do the right thing. Set yourself up for success.
I hope that most of our listeners have not had this experience, but if you have, I'm sorry, and I hope that you are recovering from it. And if you are not, there's still time. You can still rebuild. Don't take that as the end of your author brand. But more importantly, if you have not yet found yourself in a scenario where your entire content brand lives or dies on a single point of failure, take this episode as your sign to start putting a plan in place and proactive measures in place so that you are not at the mercy of one platform.
No notes.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah. Now that I've renewed your disdain for Kindle in every way, shape, or form, what print book are you going to go spite read?
It's the same one that I would have done without this episode, but
yeah,
I am moving on to Strange Buildings by Yuketsu. So I've done.
That's the third and final one.
Yes, yeah. I just finished a book called Suspicion by now I can't remember his name, but it's the same guy who wrote Tokyo Express.
Mm-hmm.
And Tokyo Express was cool. It's Japanese suspense thriller. Suspicion, not so much. I was a little disappointed. It's a novella, like you read it in like an hour and a half, something like that. Not so much. So, oh well. I guess they can't all be winners, but so far the first two Yuketsu books were good.
All right. Well, I hope. Is it a connected trilogy? Or?
Yes and no. Okay. Like it's one of those where there are some connections, but they're not like meant to be like a trilogy in the traditional sense.
Yeah. So it's not like this is the like climax of three books worth of plot. Okay. No. Well, in that case, I hope it continues the status quo of the first two.
Me too.
Because that's always disappointing when
we'll see.
And to our listeners, if you're reading anything good and you want to recommend it, let us know.
Unless it's not romance.
You can recommend romance to me. Absolutely, for sure. But I'm always in the mood for book recommendations. Got to find something new to add to the TBR.
Don't send us an Amazon link, though.
Definitely not. Definitely not. But you can send us recommendations at podcast@lulu.com. You can leave us comments or reviews on YouTube, on Spotify, on Lulu's social media channels. Actually, I would love to hear from our Apple listeners. Let me know if you're somebody who listens on the Apple Podcast app, if you are seeing our videos on Apple.
Yeah, it'd be good to know.
I would appreciate that. Hopefully you are, and hopefully you will see another one next week when we're back with another new episode.
Yep. Later.
Thanks for listening. Publish and Prosper is brought to you by Lulu.com. To learn more, visit publishprosperpodcast.com. For more episodes like this one, be sure to like and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in.